then we're going to talk about each part of it. So actually the first part is knowing your fabric and getting that. I have about 3 or 4 fabric places that I get my fabric from. All of it is online. They do carry it in your regular fabric stores, but usually the color or quality isn't going to be exactly what you want for your plush. So online, if anyone is interested, I can tell you which ones those are if you want to get some minky. So that's the first thing you want to do. And then you're going to cut it. You always, minky only stretches one direction, so you have to make sure when you start that you cut it against that so that the stretch is the long way on your plush. Because if it's the other way, your ponies become very fat, and they're very short, and they're very funny. So that's very important to remember. And then the next thing you're going to do is the embroidery. My husband, he is awesome with vectoring and getting all of the things just so for the eyes and the cutie marks. And he does actually almost all of the embroidery. I'm very not IT. And so that's the first thing we do. He gets it set in there, and he puts all of the embroidery in. It takes a lot of measuring, because we do ours in one piece. Most plush makers have their head is separate, and they sew it on, and they look fabulous. It's just not the way we do it. Ours is one piece, so there's a lot of measuring to get it right. So then when you actually cut it out, it looks right. The next thing is, after it's cut out, pinning. Pinning is a really big deal in plush making and minky. You wouldn't think it is, but it's actually one of the main parts to making it look just the way it does. You can't, I pin about every 1/4 inch, and because the minky will shift and it'll move, and when it does that, you'll have too much of the side leg pattern in, and you won't have enough of the ender leg in, and then the leg will be twisted, or it'll be like out like this. So pinning is really important. Never ever go less on pinning. You won't get the result that you want. Next part is sewing. I use 1/4 inch seams, a hair under 1/4 inch. You actually use the side of my foot as my guide. You have to make sure that you always keep your needle in. You don't want to, if you have a setting on your machine, you want to set it so the needle is down. So whenever you stop or you have to move, the needle's right where you want it to be. If it's out and you go to move your fabric, your seams won't be straight. It also helps to keep it lined up as far as the minky being moving this way or that way under the sewing machine. I use just a standard machine, nothing super fancy. It goes straight and it goes zigzag, and that's about it. I don't really need anything very fancy. It's straight stitches. I use all cotton thread. Polyester thread tends to stretch over time, so someone handling it, the seams will get weak and it'll start to bulge. So you want to use a cotton thread. I color match all my threads to the best of my ability, which can sometimes be a little rough. Like on this one, the top thread would be a dark pink and the bottom thread would be a yellow, so that when you go to stuff it and the seam comes apart, you see a yellow and a pink thread, because you wouldn't want a pink thread on the yellow, because then it would look funny. It would look like your seam wasn't straight. That's it. Next part is stuffing. Oh, stuffing. Stuffing is an art form in and of itself. It makes the plushie. We use just a premium polyester stuffing. You can get it pretty much any place. There's also cluster stuffing, which is awesome. They use it at Build-A-Bear, which makes them really soft. It's really fun to work with, but I haven't been able to find a really fabulous supplier for that with a good consistency, so I don't use that. It's the tiniest little story. I was in California, January, and I was running a half marathon there, and they have a Build-A-Bear there, and I took an Applejack with me. And I went in and I had it there, and I asked them, can I stuff this? And I don't think they are so busy there, because it's in downtown Disney, that I don't think they paid attention that it wasn't one they actually had. So they're, yeah, just go get in line over there, you know. So I went over there, and then she was filling it up with the thing, and the legs got like really long and they were spindly. It was hilarious. I spent half the day there stuffing it. Had all kinds of kids come and say, "Where'd you get the Applejack one?" I said, "Oh, this one's mine." Their machine is really, really awesome for stuffing. I would love to have one of those. I can't imagine how you would get one, but it was great fun to go and do that. Next. Oh, assembly. Assembly is all done by hand. It requires, poking your fingers, lots.
Keep on your fingers.
Yes. You, here again, you want to make sure and color match your thread. You're going to want to go with the darkest thread because it's going to be a lot more noticeable if you have say a light pink thread on this than it is having a dark thread on the light pink, because it's going to seem like it's more part of the tail, because the body shouldn't be up on the tail, but the tail can be down on the body. The same with the mane. So you're always going to want to make sure and color match those. Let's see, there was something else about assembly I was trying to think. Also on the assembly, you want to really think about, depending on which plush you're making, how you're going to do it. Most of the time, you're going to have to plan out your assembly. Because say you sewed your mane on, but it's got a horn. Oh, no. You're going to want to put the horn on first because you're not going to want to work around a mane. So on the ponies, I will make the pony, stuff that. Then the next thing, if it has wings, that's the next thing I will put on. Whether they're these closed or they're the up ones. Those go on next. Then I'll put the smiles and the nose on. Then I'll put the horn on. And at that time is when I will also position my ears, because I sew my ears into my seams for the most part, and then I have a small part that comes out to give it that right angle, so it looks so cute, like this. So that would be at that step. And then at that point, then I'll put the mane on. And then the tail. And then after that is when I would put any accompaniments on, like crowns or necklaces. And if you are going to make a princess and it's going to have a necklace, you need to remember to not attach your hair where you can't get it around. Because I've done that before. And then you're going to take it all off to get the necklace on. So that might want to be something you want to think about. And that's kind of it on assembly. I do want to talk a little bit about the regalia. All of our regalia is 100% embroidered, with the exception of my Celestia, because the way the crown is, I use a shiny gold fabric because she's just so regal. But those are a lot of fun to make. It's well worth it if you're going to make princesses to just go all the way and do the embroidery. It makes it so much worth it to do that. I like it. This is Cadence. She's one of the last princesses I made. Shoes. My husband makes these as well. They're actually shoes that are on. When we first started doing this, we actually embroidered it straight on. I would sew this seam and then he would put it into the machine and he would embroider it straight onto the minky. And that was really difficult for getting it in the right spot on the leg, it was just really crazy. So he thought of this awesome idea of making actual shoes. So these could come off. I sew them on, but they could come off. So it also allows the princesses to stand nice and straight. So instead of or something like that. It's just another thing to think about if you're going to make plushies that you could do to make sure the bottoms of your plushies are flat. A lot of times you see them, they're domed. Make sure that you don't do that. So that's kind of about it for how I do it. Does anybody have any questions? Yes?
So are they totally freestanding, or do you have a wire?
They're good. I do. There's stainless steel wire, but the wire is encased in a polyurethane tubes. So there's not actually any exposed wire in them. So what we do is there's a tubing structure that goes down the leg in here, and then there's a tubing wire structure that's in the tail, and then that slides in, and I sew it on there. That gives the tail. Am I okay?
Yeah.
Gives the tail some stability. It also gives the princess's legs some stability. So like on Celestia, how she has those really big grand wings, she actually has the same type of thing. It's a wire that has a polyurethane tubing on it. It's the kind of tubing that you use for ice makers, like in a refrigerator. So it's like the Papa Free, blah, 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 the super green stuff. And it runs in there and goes down into the front legs so that you can pose those wings. They can be moved and around. I know not everyone is a fan of having that kind of thing inside your plush, but our plushes are more, they're lovable, squeezable, you can play with them, but they're really kind of more of a sculpture almost. So they need to be in there, otherwise they'd fall over. They just would in time, right? You know, it would happen.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question. Anything else? Yes.
Friendship is Magic has only been around for 8 years, so did you make another kind of plush figure than this?
Actually, no. My passion before I did ponies was costume making. I actually do reproduction costumes. The last one that I got to make was the Queen of Hearts from the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland, right? Was it Tim Burton?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and it was, I wish I had a picture of it. It was the most fun to make. So I really love doing that, making Renaissance type things. But I really haven't had any time for that since ponies came into my life because they're just, yeah, they're fun to make. Kind of make you smile. I mean, I have a regular job, just like probably most all of you do, that you have to go to every day. So when I come home, it's kind of really nice to be able to like put the My Little Pony show on and sit in my sewing room and work on those, and it's just, I love it. I do. And look at the community. It's awesome. It transcends how many generations. I remember my niece playing with Pinkie Pie from like Gen 2, I think, I want to say, Generation 2. So I love it. I love that grown-ups and little kids can bond over stuff like this. I think it's great. Yes?
I tried to wish this past, one time I was encountering making sure the circle on the was not full to dome shape, as you said. I can never get an appropriate circle, so what ways can you offer me there?
Okay. Let's see. You want to make sure that it's actually round. I know that that sounds crazy, but I actually have a round circle pattern. And so you really do have to make it round. And when you pin it, I will pin here and here on my seams, and then I pin here and here. And then I pin 3 pins, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then when I put it under the machine, I sew on this side, not on the underside. So it actually splays out, and I sew around it like that. And the key is, if you're gonna pivot, you know, to make the round circle, just not do it round. Don't change it a lot. Change it just minutely, very, very, you know, slight. Yeah. I'm guilty of it myself. Sometimes I'll pivot a little too much, and it'll make this front part kind of point. And then it's like, oh no, I've got to rip that out. And
You have to like stitch it really slowly around it.
Speed doesn't matter so much as technique. It's really technique. I do it much faster now. I used to do it much more slowly, but I've gotten used to it. You could come by the booth. I could be more than happy to kind of like tell you a little bit more about it. I mean, I kind of actually show you, and then so you can kind of get a visual on it if you want.
How long does it usually take for you to make one of those plushes?
Okay. Actual time, I would say probably, if you put all of the hours together, maybe 3-4 days. But I usually take at least a week to make one of these, and princesses are anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks because I work, and also I don't ever work on them when I'm tired or I'm not. I only do it when I really want to, so that it comes out just how I want it to. Otherwise, it's not worth it. They don't come out. Yeah, a month. Yeah, yeah. As it takes me a long time to get ready for a con. Oh, very stressful. Yes, sir.
What's the cost of materials for one of these?
That's an interesting question. Minky runs anywhere from, you find it on sale, about $15 to about $22 a yard. And it takes, like for the pony itself, a yard of fabric because of the way you have to cut it with the grain. And someone like Cadence, it can take up to a yard of fabric of each of these colors because it actually, like, this little purple line goes like this, right? It actually has to lay on the fabric like this. And so I waste all that. So it's a lot of fabric cost in it. And the embroidery and all is, I don't know, my husband does all that cost. I've never actually put a total cost on it, and I need to do that because I get asked that all the time. But I would imagine that it's somewhere around $50 to $100, just depending on what I need and how much I buy at one time. I mean, when I do a fabric order, it's usually $500 to $700. But it's a big order. So that all the embroidery threads are all special ordered. I go through Sulky, right? It's Sulky and Getterman or Gutterman. I'm not quite sure to pronounce that. And I have certain colors I want, and so I have to go to them, and they can get it just right for me. So those are a little more pricey that way too, because we don't just use standard colors. Yes, sir.
How do you write your patterns?
Oh. I believe the ponies were 17 to 19 changes.
Yeah,
about 19, I think.
20 now.
20 now. 20, that's right. It took 20 pattern revisions. I didn't bring them. I should have. I don't know what I was thinking. But I have an evolution of Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie was the first one I made, and it's hilarious. And you can just see the progression of not all of the patterns, but quite a few of them. But pattern making is kind of key to the whole thing. For making plushes, you need to figure out what you want. Like for me, I love finding a picture of one of the ponies in a scene that I really like and recreating it as exactly as I can. Where others, they like the really sweet little chirpy ones that are so darn cute. You know, you have to figure out what you're looking for and then start patterning, because it's a long adventure for patterns. If anyone is actually looking to make a pony, and there's a girl, her name's Valley Violet on DA, she has an SDA account, and she actually sells pony patterns. They're a little bit technical, but it's a great place to start. From there, you can adapt it to what you want it to be. She's an excellent resource. Anyone else? Yes.
So do you only use Minky?
Yes, yeah. I started out though with fleece. I would definitely say fleece because it's less expensive and it behaves a little nicer, but it is similar to Minky. It gives you a little bit of the slide and the push, but then that way you can not have a lot of investment in it in the beginning for trying it out. Yes, ma'am?
Is there a pony you haven't done yet that you're wanting to try?
Oh, yes, I want to do the Cutie Crusaders really, really bad.
Yeah.
But, and then, so I'm hoping for those. I would really, really, really love to have a Nightmare Moon by Brony Khan, just because I think the hoof covers and all that would be just fabulous to do and see. Yes.
Have you ever tried to do those?
Foals, I feel like, no, not at all. Because it's, you know what? There are some plush makers out there that make fabulous ones. I mean, really, really good ones. So I haven't done that because I know that there's a place people can go and get really cute ones. I will go there, but that's my main reason for not actually going that way already, because I mean, there's just so many out there. They're so cute. Yes, sir.
2 questions.
Sure.
First one is, what really brought you into the plushie business? Why did you what brought you into the Fandom and you choose plushies over any of the other things like just straight up embroidery or stuff like that?
Well, before I made plushies, I did embroider. So the embroidery machines and all that stuff came with it. Actually, it was my son. He would be up at 2 o'clock in the morning watching My Little Pony on headphones with someone on the East Coast doing a chat. I'm like, what is he doing down there? And then, and so he was kind of the first brony. And then there's a young lady that's with me at the booth, a tall young lady with red hair. Her name is Jourdan. And she wanted to make ponies for her friends for Christmas. And I thought, well, I can teach you how to sew. And it began. And it was like, then we started looking at them on DA, and oh wow, those are really good. Oh, we should try and make these. And oh, here we are. And then I started watching it. I mean, I watched it long years ago, and then now watch it now. So and then the first con I went to was actually Las Vegas Unicon, which I know didn't go well for a lot of parts of it, but the fandom, that's where I got introduced to the fandom, and it was amazing. Do you know how wonderful it is? I'm sure most of you do because you probably work regular jobs. You go to work and they're rah, 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 and then you come in here and people are awesome. And so I just can't imagine not doing it. I love the people. It's great.
And then the other question is, would you or have you ever attended a
No, I haven't. I've had several people ask me to do that. There's a couple of plush makers out there. There's one young lady that did it. I can't think of her name. She only made one, and I got an opportunity to see that at BronyCon last year. She does a fabulous job. And then there's another lady that makes them. I'm sure you're all familiar with her. And when someone really, really wants one, I usually direct them to her and say, she does a great one. See her, because just the logistics of making that is wow. And I really don't know how many people would want that. I don't know. So, because everybody really loves Luna, so I just keep thinking I should probably make Nightmare Moon. But you're thinking Chrysalis, huh? All right. See, in my booth I have a wish list, so everyone needs to come write down what they would wish for, and then I can work off that. That would be good. Yes, sir.
Who's your favorite character on the show?
Ah, that's tough. I really like Pinkie Pie because I really like to just have fun. I do. I think fun is a wonderful thing, but you can't. Twilight is just so smart and figures things out, so she's I would say between those two, they're kind of my favorites. But for making them, I love Celestia because I love the color palette. The color palette is just beautiful. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I got two questions. My first question is, how would you react if, say, the staff from the show would ask for the functions that you create, like their OC? Could you do that?
Sure. If they wanted their OCs done, yeah, I would do that. I would imagine they've had them done, but if they asked me for it, of course I'd give it a try. I've only done, actually my first OC was Golden Gates, which I should have here. Yeah, that was the first one that I actually did. Most of the time I get requests for OCs, they have some really wild names and stuff, and then I'll email them back and say, okay, well, how much artistic play do I have here? And most of the time people kind of really want it just how they have it, and I'm very much a perfectionist, so it's really hard to promise someone something I know I can't recreate.
My second question is, would you, since season 4 is out, would you also create other season 4 characters like Coco Ponel or Cheese Sandwich?
Yes, I've asked for Coco Ponel, but lately I've been preparing for the cons. So a new pony takes roughly about 2 months of pattern designing, just to get, not the pony itself, but the mane and the tail, and just studying it to get the right expression, or just how do you want to do that embroidery. So it's about 2 months of research and development before you even get to make it. So I just haven't had that kind of time with getting ready for this convention, doing their mascot, and then I'm going to go into BronyCon, so I'm getting ready for that. But yes, definitely so. Anyone else? Yes.
You mentioned that you've gone through like 20 different patterns on
Yes.
ponies, but since they have very similar bodies, but they each have unique manes and tails,
Right.
you also had to go through a lot of iterations with each new pony you do on those parts of the design, or have you kind of figured it out so that by now when you do a new pony, this sort of first one works pretty well?
No. On the tails mostly, yes. I would have to say yes, but on the manes, no. Their manes are usually at least 3 revisions, and sometimes more, but minimum of 3. And again, I use fleece usually the first time around. If you came to my sewing room, you'd think it's hilarious because you would see like Applejack's hair on Pinkie Pie because I'm trying to figure out the pattern, but I don't, I got it on my one, little. It's pretty funny. You're like, what's that on there? Yes, sir. The hardest part is definitely the pattern, making the patterns, trying to take something that is 2-dimensional and make it 3-dimensional is probably the hardest part of the whole thing. Oh my God. Yes.
How many pieces are in each pattern, each pony that how many pattern pieces are in each pony plushie?
Just the pony plush itself?
Pony body.
It's, no, 1, 2, oh, okay, well, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. Yeah, very small. Not much, just 5. It's, right?
Yeah, actually there's
1, 2,
and then 3. And there's just 4 circles for 3.
yeah, but that's only one pattern design. So
It
there's
has the
5.
ears and the feet.
Ears and with ears, there's 5 pieces. Yeah, it's just 5. You want to keep things simple.
Less seams.
Yeah, less seams, absolutely. You don't want all these, unless you're really good at hiding the seams. I mean, I know that I've seen some other plush makers and they have lots of seams and the pictures look good and the plushes look good, but they do have a lot of seams in them. So, but not that that's wrong. I mean, it adds shape and texture and contours, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different style. And, I'm sorry, please.
Some of the canon characters, I noticed that they changed the style of the legs. If someone asked you to make one of the canon characters, would you yet again change the style?
Yes. Oh yeah, I'd have to.
Because
Yeah.
like some Clan brothers, in the back they changed like this legs are skinny, would you
Yeah.
change those?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm kind of like that. I like things to be show accurate. If someone wanted me to, that's kind of my game. Is for it to be accurate. So, yep, I would. That wouldn't be too hard. They're just changing the leg shapes. But some of them are like, okay, that face is different. So I know Snips and Snails. They had asked me to do theirs, but they're not even ponies. They're just like. It's like, yeah, okay, that's a complete pattern change. So I haven't attempted those yet. Yes, sir.
I have 2 questions on the embroidery.
Mm-hmm.
What machine do you and your husband use?
Okay.
And do you have to, would you buy another program to use it? And if so, go on.
Okay. Do you want to answer? Let me do it.
I use the Brother 400 and also the Brother 770. And I make sure I use like a good stabilizer, especially with the Minky because it stretches so much. And most of my vectoring I do with a free program that's online. It's called Sophie Sew. You have to do a lot of the work in it by hand. I mean, you go in there and everything you have to put in, from scratch. It doesn't automatically just take a picture and put it in for you, but I kind of like to be able to do every little detail myself, so that's what I use.
Yeah, we all of our embroidery are all ours. We don't, I know there's a lot of really fabulous vendors out there where you can buy the embroidery files, so you don't even have to mess with that, but we do all of our own. So that is an option if you're going to make them. I think ePony, right?
Yeah.
It's ePony. He has a fabulous selection of cutie marks and ice.
For the tangent off of that, do you use an overlay for the cover?
Yeah, because otherwise, especially like doing something like on her cutie mark here, you have so much detail where each color comes together, you have all the Mickey sticking through. So I use like an overlay over that, so it keeps it the stitches all on top.
Yeah. I would say that's probably one of the hardest parts, like that I watch with him, is when you have the cutie mark, especially one like hers, where you got colors coming in, is getting those right there. So often it'll be apart. I've noticed that on a lot of plushies that I've seen that people have that are carrying around. It's not meeting, like the white is here and the black is here, and there's minky showing through. That would make me crazy. They'd be like, oh no, no, not
do a lot
that
of
one.
test ones first.
Yeah, we do a lot of pile of tests. It's hilarious.
Like on this one, they actually overlay.
Yeah, all the eyes.
Yeah. Lots of eyes around it.
It's actually a lot of work in that, and it's amazing how much work is in that. But like I said, you can buy really nice ones from ePony that will. I can't vouch for how well that is, but just in itself, it looks like good designs. Yeah, he does a good job. Anyone else? Sir?
Do you oftentimes get requests like they ask if they want like a male pony such as like shiny armor?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We actually have successfully made a colt pattern that we're happy with, but. We're not ready to put that out yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. We're actually working on a colt OC that we took on that we were super interested in. Can't really say more than that about it. It's going to be really awesome to see. Hopefully going to debut that at BRODYCon.
Is
Yeah.
it a little bit harder to make it from like a male or female, or is it kind of like the same?
It's not really harder. I think it's a little harder to make sure that it has a masculine feel to it, like when you're putting the smile and the little details, but to make sure it's masculine. But the pattern itself just seems more, because it's more substantial. Yeah, I think everyone will be really happy with it when they see it. Anyone else? Yes?
How many ponies would you say make a year?
How many ponies do I make a year?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been asked that. I'd have to go home and count. I really don't know. I'm totally being honest about that. I'd have to actually go and look. I work on them and I send them to their new home. I've never counted. I guess I should do that. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
What is the largest size pony plushie that you've ever made or would be feasible?
Well, the biggest one I make is Celestia, and she's 26 inches. But I seen someone on DA made a Celestia. I know Celestia for sure. I think it was another pony as well that she had her daughter posed sitting on. I imagine the frame must be made of wood or something. It was, and it looked pretty good. I mean, she did a great job on it. So I was pretty impressed. Yes, sir.
Can we get a Princess Big Mac?
I don't know. He'd have to be a king.
Princess.
Yeah. Yes. Anyone else? Because we could do the drawing if there isn't any other question. Yes? Princess Falstacorn? I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if she'd want to be a princess. Yes, to be the queen, right? Yeah, I don't know. That would be an interesting thing to do. Yes, sir.
I walked in a little late, so
That's okay.
I apologize if that's already.
That's all right.
Are all the pony bodies like the same pattern, just slightly different scales?
No.
And then you just alter it for the manes and eyes and everything? Or?
No, the ponies are all the same pattern.
Okay.
They're all the same. For the ponies, all the princesses have their own body patterns, separate different ones, but the ponies are a basic pony pattern.
You kind of mentioned this already, but like, let's say you made a Fluttershy plushie, how big would it cost to make this? If you scaled this?
I would only be able to make it this size right now. Well, no. We can make it princess size, so it could be 22. I take that back because I had to make one for, I didn't have, I made one for this convention that's going to be the charity auction, so it's princess size. Okay. All right, so we've actually run out of time, so we're going to do the we're going to do the drawing. Has everybody got their tickets in, the one that they want? Yes? Oh. No? Did you got your tickets in?
Oh, yeah. One more.
One more ticket, okay. Well, it depends on which one you might like to have a chance at. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Either one.
They have a number on it. Okay. Awesome.
Someone pull a ticket. Volunteer.
Yeah. 42841. Oh,
wow.
Yeah, winner. This is
Congratulations. Okay. Wanna do the back?
Two, 4, 2, 8, 0, 4.
Oh, yes, yes.
Congratulations. Thank you everybody for coming. It was great fun. I hope you enjoy the rest of the con. BABScon's been awesome. I hope they do it again next year because I've had a great